let's talk about Josh Giddey and what people are calling potentially a sophomore slump, maybe a little bit of regression. Dave, you tell me what you think is going on with Josh Giddey right now.
All right. I totally understand what experts would say, that Josh Giddey's going through a sophomore slump. I get that. I can respect you guys looking at the stats and coming to that conclusion yourself. But let's just dive deeper a little bit more into what's happening with Josh Giddey. First of all, I feel like Josh Giddey has been moved off the ball a lot more than he was, being point guard last year. This year, he's sharing the load with Shea, which for good reason. Shea is probably one of the best point guards in the league. So being able to share that rock with Josh has only been able to increase Josh's ability to play the game. Also, knocking the better defenders are going to be guarding Shea versus guarding Josh. So that really helps out in that aspect there, right there. But when you take the ball out of Josh's hands, let's just say, I want to say 15% of the time that he would get the ball last year, he's not getting now, right? So you take away 15% of the touches from Josh, and you're going to see a decrease in points possibly, and assists and rebounds. But what's happening is that we're only seeing a decrease in assist. Am I right, Mark? I think his points have gone up, his rebounds have gone up, but his assists have gone down. What is happening with the assist? And it goes back to with what's happening with Josh Giddey, okay? Josh Giddey is being forced in a way to play within the system of the Oklahoma City Thunder, playing off the ball, not as that main point guard, not as that I'm taking the ball down the court and the system is starting right away with my pass, right? By this happening and moving Josh around in the offensive scheme, it's allowing Shea to get 7 assists or 6 assists. It's allowing these other guys to get their assist up and be more of a team assist team. That's powerful. Because whether you think it's a sophomore slump or not, next year, Josh is going to have an insane amount of assists every single game. The reason is because when you start moving Josh within the system and you start getting him familiar with what he's supposed to do, he starts understanding in his IQ over the game, he's going to start understanding where everybody's at all times. You add Chet in there for an alley-oop pass, and it's going to be over. We're talking about Josh having probably a 2 or 3 assists per game bump next season. It's going to even itself out, guys. I understand that you want to look at it and say, oh, he's only had 1 triple-double. Well, he had 4 triple-doubles last year, I think, Mark. All 4 of them were with Shea injured, okay? And he was supposed to, take the ball 80% of the time off the court. It's no longer like that, guys. He's not being required to do that. And because of that, you're just going to see what I call a decrease in stats this year as he gets familiar with what his role is going to be for the future.
So I think, one of the things that's critical about with Giddey is he's playing more of like a small forward role. Playmaker, get downhill, create an advantage, and then kick it out.
Very good. I like what you're saying.
Similar to what Shea does on a regular basis, but Giddey's a better passer than Shea. Shea, is a better scorer, but in the end, we need them both attacking the paint. We heard the game with the Suns. We heard Richard Jefferson, JJ Redick talking about, getting to the paint, getting a paint touch, and then kicking it out, and how you can create advantages by getting into the paint. And we have a team that's committed to doing that. And last year we saw Giddey have the opportunity to get triple doubles, like you said, by initiating the offense with the pass and playing more in that point guard role. So now he's shifted off ball, not all the time, and he has more time on the ball. But
I think it's averaged out to be 15% less, and that's it. I mean, maybe 20% less, but it's not a huge tick, but it's enough where you see a decrease in his assist.
So I've noticed since the All-Star break, 2 games only, but I've noticed something that maybe is a pattern here that might be trending. First of all, I saw Walker Kessler guarding Shea, and then last night we saw DeAndre Ayton guarding Josh Giddey. I meant to say Josh Giddey. I'm sorry. So yeah, Josh Giddey, both times we have the bigs guarding him. Now, normally, if we're saying a Ben Simmons style defense, they might do that, right? But Giddey's demanded enough respect on one situation on the perimeter, catch and shoot threes. They are daring him to shoot a dribble up 3, okay? Because they know he doesn't want to. They know he's not going to. But on a catch and shoot 3, they're going to run somebody out at him. But other than that, it's sort of like a zone. They put the big on him. He just plays drop coverage. They're daring him. And then if you see Giddey do his catch and get ready to shoot, they're going to run somebody out and make him uncomfortable. It's extremely effective. But it's effective because it's new. And what we've seen with Giddey over and over again is taking time to figure things out, and he figures it out, then he exploits the advantage. So what is the future advantage for him to exploit here? Because this put my head down, lower my shoulder, get to the basket. If you're going up against Kessler and you're going up against Ayton, you don't really have an advantage in that situation. Your runner is going to be taken away. So what is the advantage?
Dude, I've seen Josh Giddey do it hundreds of times. All right. His advantage that he has, that he needs to be able to do, is keep that ball alive. All right. He needs to attack where the defenders are at. Okay. So he needs to pick like somebody like Isaiah Joe. Right. And he says, I'm going to dribble towards Isaiah Joe's defender. I'm going to make Isaiah Joe's defender guard me. Okay. That's it. He needs to make his the players around him better. All right. He's done it 100 times. Now, what's happening right now is that he's getting the ball, like you said, and they're daring him to dribble shoot. Right. Because that's not part of his game. They're daring him to do so. So how do you make that more effective? You need to pick a spot. And Coach D is working with him. You know, I've seen him do it. I've seen him dribble between defenders. Why does he dribble between defenders? To get to a spot to pass the ball. You know, like he understands that he needs to go to certain spots to get guys to double down on him, or to guys to get him out of bad defense positions, because if he gets within like 4 feet of the bucket or 6 feet of the bucket, you're going to have to guard him. Period. And you're going to have to send a second guy there to help out, because especially if he's being guarded by a big man and he gets to a spot first, that's what Josh does. Get to that spot first, demand that second defender, and pass the ball for another assist. Now, what's going to end up happening is Josh is going to be able to get to that spot before the defender, and they're not going to help. And that's where Josh's creativity is going to come into play, because Josh being able to keep that ball alive at that moment and being able to do what that Steve Nash move is going underneath the bucket, right? Because that's what big men have the hardest time to guard, you know, quicker guards going underneath the bucket and either doing a up and under or getting the skip pass going on. I mean, Josh is an expert at understanding the game, and his IQ is going to be there. It's just about learning how to adjust. And last night or the night before against Utah, we saw Utah Jazz playing Shea a certain way, right? The Thunder will adjust the next time we play, because it's not something I've seen a lot of coaches being able to do. But the way that Coach D, and we saw this, you know, many times before in the last couple of years, is when Coach D, we play a team, we go back the second time, and it's like we've up-coached them better. We've understand where they're coming into attack, and we're almost hammer them like every single time at their own game, because we're ready. You know, like that's the way Coach D, and I feel like this podcast in general doesn't give Coach D enough credit and his coaching staff enough credit for what they do for this team and the scouting team. It's truly spectacular. The way they prepare for games and the way they get these guys ready for games is beyond next level. And we're watching it. Like last night, not having Shea, it kicked our balls, and it made us start thinking about what's going on, right? But it gave these other guys an opportunity to do some great things, even though they didn't get into the 30-minute marks. I thought these guys did amazing, you know? And I have to say is that we didn't get the win, and that was frustrating. But watching these guys pull together on a team that has players like Booker and Chris Paul and, you know, Ayton, like this was great, bro. This was a great learning experience for this team. And I really felt like Josh Giddey, though 7 points wasn't the best stat line, I felt like Josh Giddey is learning so much right now and how to deal with an enormous amount of different types of defense and different types of pressure.
Right.
Because listen, like, say what you want to say is when you have players out there that are able to play around you like Josh does, you're going to get some crazy, funky, weird defenders guarding you. He has to learn how to be effective during those times. And I know he's going to be effective. I believe in Josh. He's 20 years old, and the things that he has done to prove himself already is so next level.
Yeah, he's already one game further into the season than he went last year. As far
exactly,
as
guys.
He went one game after the All-Star break, and then he was shut down. So we're 2 games in. Now, they both have been losses. We, like you mentioned earlier, we saw Shea sit out the second of the back-to-back. And upcoming, we've got some pretty heavy games coming up. We've got 2 against the Kings, then the Lakers, and then 2 against the Jazz. So that goes back to what you were saying about improvement and, you know, getting back to the film, making adjustments. That's something that isn't talked about enough, right?
It's the small adjustments. We don't need to make these massive fucking adjustments at this point in the season. Like, look at it. 8-point adjustment. What is 8-point adjustment? That's 5 different plays. That's 5 different types of defensive schemes out there. That's 5 different types of offensive plays. It's not much, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, when I look at for Giddey, he's running into a brick wall, seemingly. He's having some trouble. But that thing about being 20 in the NBA is those problems, those issues, you can work through them. And over time, you'll overcome them, and then you'll be a better player for having gone through that. They're throwing out some really creative defenses. And without Shea, Giddey was the main person that they planned against. And let's face it, it was an effective plan. But even with Shea out there, what we've seen recently is teams be very effective at building a wall. And if Shea's kick-out pass isn't clean, then they can recover very quickly. So these things that we're seeing, even though it's like, well, we're not going to see that from every team. Well, we do face the Suns a few more times coming up. We do face the Jazz a few more times coming up. We have a chance to face the challenges that have, tripped us up head on. And you look at the way that we handled the Rockets, like that was a similar thing, like tripped us up, then we bounced back and we hammered them. Like I'm expecting the same thing against the Jazz, and hopefully we can shock everybody and beat the Kings.
Yeah, man. And I look at with Josh with what you want to call this slump or whatever. I don't want to call it slump. I hate calling things slumps because the reality is that like he's 20 years old and he's going through a rough time on the court. The only advice I have for that is, man, you go and get, I don't know, 3 or 4 king-size pillows. You put them inside of that nice fuzzy coat you have of yours. You put it in your bed with you and just snuggle with it for like a couple days, man. Like things will be all right. Like life will be okay again. Like when it's all said and done and we're looking back at this time at Josh Giddey's career, let's just say in 10 years, guys, when we look back at Josh's career in 10 years, we're all going to say the proof was there. We all knew what type of player he was going to be because of the way that he was playing at this time in his life already at 20. When he's 30 years old, we're all going to be sitting there saying, Josh is the man. Look at what Josh has been able to accomplish in his career. I mean, and that's the thing I love about the way that this organization develops players. Like people will say like Shea's not going to be here forever. Dort's not going to be here forever. Josh isn't going to be here forever. Well, this is why I disagree with everybody that says that is because, we're getting a new stadium in Oklahoma City soon. I mean, that is going to happen. And when that happens, I am telling you guys right fucking now is we're going to be demanding a statue of players. And who else deserves a statue of themselves than somebody that retires as a superstar, as an Oklahoma City Thunder, that has given their life to be an Oklahoma City Thunder and has wanted to stay through the thick and thin as an Oklahoma City Thunder player. And I look at Shea, I look at Josh, and I see these guys, and I look at Chet, and I look at Dort, and I say, all these guys, man, this could be the greatest team that we've seen because of the way Sam Presti has done it. And then when it's all said and done, if we're going to have statues of people, I want a statue of Sam Presti that's standing in the tunnel, watching the team as Coach D is coaching, and then all the players that we decide to have statues of it. Because I feel like this team is going to have a few of those statues, man. And I have to say is understanding where Dort is, understanding where J-Dub is, understanding where Shea is, and Josh Giddey, and Jay Will. Like, these guys are clicking at a high level, and we're still not fucking healthy, and we're still killing it. And that's why there is no better time to be an Oklahoma City Thunder fan than right now. And I understand. We just lost 2 games in a row, and I don't give a fuck. I'm still more passionate about this team than I have been before because I know what this team is capable of doing.